The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Breaking news, we're learning of an enormous immigration raid in an area about 40 miles east of Jackson, Mississippi. Associated Press is now reporting immigration agents arrested 680 people at a food processing plant there. Anybody know the name of the town?
Morton.
Morton is the home of one of the largest chicken farms in all of the country. The chicken production houses there are the lifeblood of the economy in tiny Morton, Mississippi. And for years and decades, immigrants have worked in those facilities. If you were looking for a target to go to try to round up a bunch of people who were hard at work in the chicken processing plant, personally could think of no better target than the chicken processing plants in Morton, Mississippi. So away they went, and they just arrested hundreds and hundreds of people. Largest raids in about a decade.
So there you have it. Shepard Smith, breathlessly reporting what a disgusting, disgraceful thing that. I mean, you have to ask yourself: is Trump a human pillar of salt now? You know, anybody read the Bible? Anybody out there know it? There's a portion in there where, a woman looks back at Sodom and Gomorrah, turns her into a pillar of salt. That is Donald Trump. He is the human pillar of salt, and he is rubbing himself, into the wounds of the people in El Paso, the people in Dayton. I mean, the only thing he did right yesterday when he went to Dayton and El Paso was he didn't call Dayton Toledo and he didn't call El Paso Dayton. Other than that, I mean, he is a human salt pillar, and he applied himself, directly on the wound of the nation, and the nation is hurting. That's the thing. I mean, we have PTSD. It's unbelievable to me. I mean, people don't go to a movie theater anymore without first locating the exits. It used to be just the plane. You located the like what good was that going to do you anyway? I'm just going to jump out is what I'll do. But this is crazy. This is, what Trump has created. You heard the story about in Times Square. I'm a New Yorker, right? I used to have a billboard in Times Square, one of those giant billboards. Remember that? Yeah. That's a great story, though. I walked to the corner to see it by myself because I didn't know what I would find. I didn't know how my face would look on a 40-foot poster. It's just gigantic. I don't even know how big that thing is. And I was scared. I was really scared. So I walked there from my apartment. I lived on 38th Street, so I walked to 42nd. I'm standing on the corner, and I look, and I see this giant billboard with my face on it. And I look at a random stranger, and I said to him, hey, that's me. And he looked at me, and he looked at the poster, which obviously was airbrushed. It's what they do. He looked at me, he looked at the poster, and he said, sure it is, lady. And I went, oh, that's the perfect story. Yay, that's a great story. But 42nd Street, Times Square, very busy, very touristy, very, and last night, Broadway, the plays are all there, and they were in the last portion of Hamilton, they were in the last portion of To Kill a Mockingbird, and all of a sudden, I mean, it wasn't just the people on the street that were running. I don't know if you saw the video, but this is PTSD. Is what this is. Watch this. This is 20 seconds of what happened in Times Square. This was in response to, by the way, a dirt bike backfiring a couple times, and people thought it was gunshots, right?
You're kidding me. Like what?
See everybody running? Running. Look at that. That's PTSD. I mean, literally, who wants to live like this? We don't want to live like this. This is mass madness, you maniacs here. This is crazy. And so now, of course, Fox News' solution to all of this is to surround the movie theaters. Now we have to surround the Broadway theaters. We have to surround our schools. We have to surround our malls. We have to surround Luby's. We have to surround the Waffle House. We have to surround all of our concerts now. You know, we need an outside perimeter, an inside. Also that 32% of America can hoard all the freaking assault weapons. I mean, it is just a sick situation. But let me tell you, people were injured in that. That's the story that I didn't hear get told. But people were injured. A 12-year-old girl was she broke her wrist because she was running. People are literally running right out of their shoes. Right out of their shoes. I remember when I went to the Holocaust Museum. I don't know why, but the thing that made me literally lose it. The whole thing is just a sad sense of cruelty. The whole Holocaust Museum. I mean, as you move from one exhibit to the other with the measuring of people's skulls and the Mengele experiments and but there's this one display that really is gonna, I don't know, it made me literally retch. I mean, I was like heaving. You know when you cry so hard you bite your tongue like that? Like a little kid whose mom was just taken away in a raid while she was hard at work at a chicken plant cutting and processing chickens, like that there. Yeah, like crying like that. So I had that, what Oprah calls the ugly cry. I had it. It was all the shoes. It was a big giant bin of all those black, death camp shoes that they issued to all the Jews. I don't know why. And every time I look at the pictures of people running out of their shoes, both in Times Square last night and in El Paso at the Walmart, I don't know why that affects me the way it does, but it just does. Maybe it has something to do with the Christian teachings of the rapture, where I realize that I am a good person, and if your fairy tale comes true, if your apocalyptic ending for this world comes true, then I will be raptured up, and the only thing that will be left is my adorable shoes, which is why I spend so much time on Zappos.com at 6 p.m., which is even cheaper, but they don't have free shipping and returns, right? Picking out cute shoes, because I realize sometimes that's all that's going to be left of me. But so a little girl was running last night in Times Square. She broke her wrist, and a 79-year-old man fell and fractured his kneecap. I mean, why do we need to live like this? To make a freaking lobby shop, the gun lobby, happy? I don't know if you saw what happened yesterday. I mean, Trump literally was not welcome anywhere he went yesterday. He just wasn't. Okay? And the amount of polarization that goes on in this country with the freaks that, hail Trump, hail Caesar, whatever. The white supremacists that just freaking love him. And the rest of us who don't. Fights started out in Dayton, right at the crime scene. Right there, right at the crime scene, right in front of that Ned Pepper's place, which is where the shooter was killed and stopped. Because if he would have made it into Ned Pepper's, I mean, you would have seen, something like Vegas, that kind of a body count. I mean, it was just so sick. Anyway, they were fighting there before he even got there. And then, the only time that Trump actually met with any of the legislators, from the mayor, Nan Whaley, who's making so much sense that everybody is falling in love with her, and Sherrod Brown, who also, Sherrod Brown was going to not show up to meet the president. He didn't want to, but the mayor of Dayton asked if he would please, accompany her. And the only time Trump made contact with them was on the tarmac. And of course, they didn't issue an itinerary. So the city had no idea where he was going to go, what he was going to do, whether or not he would go to the crime scene, whether or not he would go to a church. Well, nobody knew where he was going. So the only place that the two legislators could talk to Trump was very quickly as he shook their hands on the, greeting line on the tarmac. And they just made their case as quickly as they could for gun legislation, for meaningful gun legislation that would prevent mass murders from occurring at this kind of a clip, right? That's all they did. They welcomed him, and then after they had a press conference where they said that they thought that some of the victims in Dayton were happy that he came, and they felt comforted by him. And then Trump got on the airplane going to El Paso, another crime scene, and started mean tweeting. This is the human pillar of salt. He has to rub it into the wound.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
I'm not holding my breath. Too often we just see complete inaction because they're waiting just for time for people to forget that 9 people died in Dayton because of a gun that was that shouldn't be legal, frankly. I pointed out to the president that now Governor, former Senator Mike DeWine voted for the assault weapons ban. There was a time when this was bipartisan. And so we're looking for those people in Congress to come together because the majority of Americans agree, so this should be an action. Do I think that we're going to see another mass shooting tomorrow or Friday? Probably, because Washington will not move.
Washington will not move. And Sherrod Brown went even further and said that the GOP is owned by the NRA, and that's absolutely true. But let me show you something that gave me some sort of hope, some sort of vigor, zest, and zeal. I saw this last night on the Twitter. I retweeted it, but this is really awesome. I don't know if you know this, too, before I play this. This might motivate you to take part. If you're, in anywhere near Louisville, Kentucky, if you're in West Virginia, Southern Ohio, even Tennessee, Indiana, if you're anywhere near Louisville, Congressman Tim Ryan, is organizing a caravan to Louisville, Kentucky, to make people's opinions known to Massacre Mitch. And I got to tell you, last night I was watching this. The crowd showed up. Massacre Mitch, Moscow Mitch. He actually said that he fractured his shoulder. He fell. He fell in his house or something. I don't know if it's too many scotches or he's just his legs are too short and the head didn't come out of the shell properly. I don't know what caused. But he showed up for some sort of a rally, and it did not go well. Look at this.
Moscow
Mitch.
Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Mitch McConnell. Okay.
He doesn't look hurt.
It's a great time for our Commonwealth.
It's a great time.
After suffering under Barack Obama, we are roaring now.
That is not going well.
President Trump and Governor Bevin and our united Republican leadership, Kentucky is leading the way. We've hit and sustained the lowest unemployment rate in Kentucky's recorded history, and there are 4 more open jobs than people looking for work nationwide.
Good for you. Good for you. I was very encouraged by that there. And Tim Ryan must have seen it too, because now he's organizing a whole caravan of people to go and tell Moscow Mitch, I call him Massacre Mitch, just exactly what we think about the way we have to live in the United States. Okay, that now if Mitch McConnell was I don't know, a person of compassion or had any sense of his state and the people who toil there and the people who live there and the people who raise their children there, if he had any concept, he would have gotten off the script and he would have said, tell me what your concerns are. Or, I can see that you're very angry. Let me tell you what my plan is. Yes, things have gone in the wrong direction, but he doesn't. He just said, the things are great in the Commonwealth, and he just stays on script because he's a front-running phony. He's a fraud. He's a fake, just like, his hero, Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is a human pillar of salt, and Mitch McConnell is, I never understood the expression. There's some expressions you just say, and then all of a sudden it just clicks, like a moment hits you, or the circumstances are just so right that all of a sudden this old expression makes perfect sense. The expression adding insult to injury? It didn't make any sense to me until I saw Donald Trump mean tweeting yesterday on his way from, injured people in the hospital in Dayton going to another crime scene in El Paso and tweeting insults to all enemies, real and perceived. That's when it dawned on me what adding insult to injury actually means. I never experienced anybody so cruel, so I really didn't understand, how do you add an insult to an injury? Now I get it. But in a very real sense, this Mitch McConnell thing is a very hopeful sign. It's a very hopeful sign. I mean, nothing says I'm giving up on life than saying, yeah, okay, I'll meet with Donald Trump. Do you know what I mean? Nothing signifies, a complete, cave-in of your spirit like that particular decision. And it didn't happen yesterday. Now, I want to show you something. This is really sick. This is really twisted. Not only did he mean tweet about Sherrod Brown and Beto, and I mean, it was unfreaking believable. But he actually went to the hospital in El Paso. Now, here's a crazy story. This is in the New York Times. None of the victims in the hospital in El Paso who were being treated for their injuries agreed to meet with Donald Trump. And that's what I'm saying. It's such a little ray of hope that they haven't given up, that their spirit is still intact. The meaning of their lives hasn't been lost, because nothing says, oh, I give up, than saying, yeah, bring Donald Trump in after, he caused the death of, this community. So it was really great. So what did he have to do? He had to meet with only the doctors, and his advance team apparently had to call 2 people that were already discharged from the hospital who would agree to meet with Donald Trump to come back to the hospital, just so Donald Trump could say that he met with victims, plural. So they called 2 people who were willing to meet with Donald Trump back to the hospital. But the people that were still in the hospital, there were 8 people. They all refused to see him. Now, they did meet with other officials, so it's not that they couldn't meet with other officials. It's not that they were incapacitated or they were in too much physical pain or any of those things. No, they just didn't want to see him, specifically not him. And that was amazing. So what he did was he went to the hospital, and they put him in a room with some staff that were willing to meet with him. And what did he talk about? This is so sick. He stood there and bragged about how many people attended his El Paso rally, where he lied about this wall that was only built in 2008. And they had no crime problem in El Paso. So he lied at that rally and said that it was like, a very dangerous city and all these murders. And it was just, and building that wall worked, and it solved all the problems of El Paso. Well, the mayor of El Paso, Mayor DeMargo, all these people who were learning their names, he had to go on Fox News and debunk Donald Trump's, El Paso thing. And then Donald Trump went into the Rose Garden like 4 days after his February El Paso rally and said it again in the Rose Garden. And DeMargo had to go on TV again. This time he went on CNN to say Donald Trump is lying about El Paso. It is a very, very peaceful place, a wonderful place to live. And it has been for like 360 years. So Donald Trump has very few fans there. When we come back, I'm going to play you what he said in the hospital.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Okay, here's Donald Trump meeting with people that the advance team found willing to meet him, friendly to him. And this is the conversation he chose to have.
And you did a fantastic job with your whole group. And Senator Cornyn, Senator Cornyn, the job you've done, and they're talking about it all over the world, and it's an honor to be with you. Look at this group of people. Can you believe this? Good looking people.
You're fantastic.
I was here 3 months ago. We made a speech, and we had what was the name of the arena? That place was packed, right?
I was front row.
Right? The judges have respected
I was front
you.
row.
What was the name?
I was front row there.
He was in the front row. Come here, man. That was some crowd.
Thank you for
And we had twice the number outside.
Oh, my
And
God.
then you had this crazy Beto. Beto had like 400 people in a parking lot. They said his crowd was wonderful.
Look at me.
But we had some...
Uh-oh, look at that.
Whoa, oh, wow, look at that. Look at that, Judge. You see that?
I was encouraging her.
Don't tell it to the press, because they won't even believe it.
No.
They only believe it on voting on the day of the vote. They say, what happened?
That's what he chose to talk to the staff at the hospital in El Paso about. His crowd size. and he decided he would trash Beto O'Rourke. Do they have a psych ward there? Why didn't they just commit him right there and then? Wouldn't that have been just the thing to do? You know, we're finding out like the shooter's mother totally knew her son was, not the kind of kid to have one of these semi-automatic weapons. And how do we know that? Because she had called the police weeks before this massacre. Isn't that something? You always find that out later, don't you? Donald Trump, obviously, he needs to be committed too. And if they had a psych ward there, I'm thinking, kill two birds with one stone if we're going to use, something that never made sense, but now it does. So, he talked about his crowd size. Meanwhile, where was Beto? Where was Beto O'Rourke? Okay, Beto O'Rourke was right here at the crime scene, consoling a man named Sean who worked at the Walmart and threw himself on top of a child to shield the child from freaking flying bullets. Trump is in the hospital bragging about his crowd size, psych ward, and here's Beto.
We're not even allowed to work right now. I'm going to counseling.
And are you able to see a counselor or a therapist? Yeah? Okay. Talk to me.
We need to fix this, Beto. It's too much. The vessel was great. I don't know why this dude is doing this to us.
It's all right. Come here. Come here, man. I'm with you. I'm with you. Cynthia, can I get a card with my number on it? Tell me your name. Sean. This is my cell phone.
This is
it goes
my
directly
cell
to me. There have been a number of people who reached out to me, counselors, therapists who want to be helpful. If that additional help would be good for you, let me know, and I'll put you in touch. If you can think of anything I can do for you or your family, I want to do it, okay? Yeah, I'm grateful that you said hello, and I'm grateful that you're okay. Yeah, thank you for being there. Yeah, appreciate it, bud. Yeah, love you, man.
Trump talks about his crowd size, and Beto is down consoling the survivors who are the whole. This is madness. The whole country is crying. Did you see the little girl this morning? I just they took her mother and father away. These are people who have been in our country. This is Mississippi, okay? Is it? See, here's what you're supposed to believe. You're supposed to believe that Trump ordered raids to occur at 7 ag plants in Mississippi, not even a week after these white supremacist shootings in El Paso, because he forgot about how it would look. No, he did it as a signal to his base that while he might condemn it, while he might stand there and say, yeah, it's mental illness, it's video, whatever he was going to say, which is just an insult to people who are mentally ill, who, by the way, commit about 3% of any gun crime in this country. The other 97%, they are not mentally ill. I know it seems like if somebody would take somebody else's life to a decent person, that they must be mentally ill. They must be crazy. But hatred and racism is not a mental illness. That crap is taught. That crap is taught. That is a teachable thing. And that is where hate and prejudice and bigotry and racism come from. It comes from somebody who teaches it to you or who steeps you in a culture that embraces haters. That is not a mental illness. So Trump orders these raids in Mississippi to take people who have been here for 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, doing some of the most bloody, disgusting, hideous jobs that we have in slaughterhouses, in meat packing plants, with really sharp knife. I mean, and of course, the haters are, we don't want to give any medical care. So 6 Mexican nationals were gunned down in El Paso. Here's a question for you white supremacists. Should they be allowed to go to the hospital after they've been shot? Here's another one. What about the people that do work in these meatpacking plants? If they slice off a thumb, do they get to go to the hospital, or, just they're done, move in another, migrant? This is the sickest man. Do you think that the optics of these raids were lost on him? Because I don't. I don't think so. I think this was planned so that he would have the ability to show, don't worry, I still hate him. You still hate him. We'll get rid of him. We'll clean out this country. I don't know who's going to do the work now, but...
Following this massive enforcement operation, many children are left without a mother or father, and they have nowhere to go. Alex Love joins us now with how a community in Forest is coming together with a temporary solution. Alex?
Melanie, these children, some who are just toddlers, were relying on neighbors and even strangers to pick them up outside their homes after school and drive them to a community fitness center where people tried to keep them calm, but many kids kept crying for mom and dad. Fighting back tears, 11-year-old Magdalena Gomez Gregorio expressed to us her devastation being alone without her dad.
Governments, please put your heart. Let my parents be free with everybody else, please. Don't leave the child with cryness and everything.
This
was planned.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Fighting back tears, 11-year-old Magdalena Gomez Gregorio expressed to us her devastation being alone without her dad.
Governments, please put your heart. Let my parents be free with everybody else, please. Don't leave the child with cryness and everything.
This came after ICE agents raided several food plants across Mississippi, arresting 680 people believed to be in the country illegally.
While we are a nation of immigrants, more than that, we are first and foremost a nation of laws.
Wait a minute, Mike Hurst. Wait. Just hold up there. A nation of laws. You have a president of the United States who is an unindicted co-conspirator. You have a president of the United States who has witness tampered, perjured himself in written form, in written questions. You have a president who lies to the American people constantly. You have a president who obstructed justice in at least 10 instances, 5 of which met all three of the criteria for charging an obstruction. Wait a minute. Don't you dare throw this law and order crap around with this president, because you will end up looking stupid.
But those children left behind and families impacted by each raid stress their parents and friends are good people.
I need my dad for me. My dad didn't do nothing. He's not a criminal.
The children that I'm with right now, their mom been here for 15 years. She has no record, no nothing. A lot of people here has no record. They've been here 12 years, 10 years, 15 years.
These people have done nothing but work really hard in some of the most horrendous jobs that you could possibly imagine. Americans don't take these jobs. They don't. I can't tell you how many video of farmers I have saying that even on the dairy farms, okay, that they can't find people. They'll show up one day, they'll do the work for 8 hours, and they go, this is not for me. This is not for me. These were raids in 7 different cities in Mississippi: Bay Springs, Carthage, Sebastopol, Tallahatchie, in Canton, Mississippi. Altogether, ICE rounded up 680 immigrant workers, loaded them into buses. The schools didn't know it was going to happen. They didn't even know what to do because they couldn't send the kids home to empty houses. So the bus drivers were being asked to make sure that when they dropped off a kid, they saw a parent there to receive the child, or else bring them back to school. Nobody knew what to do with these little kids. Nobody knew what to do. A U.S. citizen who was working in one of these plants in Canton, there was a guy, one man, working there, and he was protesting because he said, I'm an American citizen. I'm an American citizen. And they tased him. ICE tased him, knocked him to the ground, and put handcuffs on him before they figured out, oh, yeah, he is an American citizen. They said they're going to have to sort through all the people. They're going to have to sort them all out. So they're bringing them all to a place in Louisiana, Louisiana, and they'll sort them like socks and figure out what to do with them. These are people that have been here for 10, 15, 20 years. Their kids are American citizens. Don't you dare tell me you love family and you're concerned about the end of the nuclear family. These are the most family-oriented people you could possibly want in this country. And what is their offense? A civil offense of being here without proper documentation. Ooh. Civil offense of being here without documentation does not make people run in Times Square to the point where they fall and bust their kneecaps. A civil offense of being here without documents does not cause people to run out of their own shoes. It doesn't cause people to run so fast that they fall down and break their wrist. 12-year-old girls. Oh my God. And he won't stop. He's never going to stop because he's got to keep signaling to his base. He's got to keep showing them that he is going to rid this country of the invaders. That's all he's doing. This serves no purpose. If you like to eat, then you like. And you know it's really sick. In all these years of all this, undocumented and without proper papers, and still working, always working. The employers, you know how many prosecutions of employers there have been? 11 in 10 years. 11. Donald Trump would have to prosecute himself, you see, because Donald Trump loves to hire undocumented workers to work his golf clubs, to make his bed, to do his laundry, to do his ironing, to do his pillow puffing. Okay? This is Donald Trump. This is who he is. This is what he's done. He is such a fraud, such a phony. This is so sick, it's so wrong. And by the way, at the Trump Organization, they would help immigrants who were undocumented get fake documents. Literally, the HR guy in Bedminster, New Jersey, was helping people who worked that club, who were here without proper papers, get forged papers so that they could continue to service Donald Trump. Ew. No one in Mississippi that anybody in the news, that was a local news report, by the way. Good. We should give a shout out to the locals because the locals covered this really well last night. But nobody in Mississippi is crying out for hundreds of workers to be rounded up. Nobody in Mississippi wanted to see people moved out in zip ties and put on buses and have their children weeping. Please, governments, use your heart. That's what that little girl was saying through her. That's the ugly cry. That's the cry when you cry so hard you bite your tongue. That's the kind of crying that goes on in this country because of this man. That's what this girl was crying about. She was saying, please, governments, use your hearts. Don't leave the children in crisis. That's what she was saying. The people in Mississippi are quoted in their newspaper today in Jackson's newspaper. We live in these small communities. We know these folks. They coach baseball. They coach Little League and soccer. They work in our local businesses. We live side by side with them, and we know them, and we work with them, and we don't want anybody to be mean to them. The same people that might be yelling, build the wall, but they're not yelling, come lock up my neighbor. Well, now I think you're starting to understand what build a wall leads to. Standing there, screaming, send her back, lock her up, build a wall. And who's going to pay for it? You are. And who? You are. You're going to pay in blood, sweat, and tears. You're going to pay every way to Sunday. Every way to Sunday. He said, my sense is that there exists a group of people who are so committed to the positions espoused and articulated by Donald Trump that they have little or no capacity to consider the practicalities of the relationship between this act and actions elsewhere and the practical implications of these actions on children. These are people so committed to the Trump agenda that they can rationalize any action in furtherance of Donald Trump. That's what they're saying. They just didn't think it would happen to them. They didn't really think it would lead to anything. They didn't really think they would come and get their neighbors. They didn't really think that they would leave kids with no place to go on the first day of school. Can you imagine? You know how traumatic the first day of school is for some kids. Some kids are like really happy to go. Some kids are like, I remember my first. I just skipped off. I was like, bye-bye, can't wait, bye-bye, see ya. My sister, on the other hand, she was a skirt clinger. She was like hanging on my mother's dress. She was weeping. She was crying, don't leave me. I don't want to go. Right? Some kids like it. Some kids have a very difficult time with the first day of school. Can you imagine any kid wanting to go back to school knowing that on the first day of school, their parents were stolen away from them? I mean, the trauma. This is the gift that will keep on giving for the rest of their lives. There were no accommodations made for these children. The government did absolutely nothing. The federal officials were being called by the school. They were calling ICE, the schools were, saying, what do we do with these kids? What do we do with these kids? And no one told them what to do with these kids. The people of these towns in Mississippi said they thought it was too far-fetched to think this would ever happen in their communities. They just didn't think it would ever happen. And a man who owned a gym actually went on the TV, a young kid. I mean, he just seemed like he was in his mid-20s who owns like a workout place, And he went on the TV and he said, all right, bring the kids to me. Bring the kids to me. I'll feed them. People donate food. We'll feed the kids. And even if I have to take them to school tomorrow, we'll get transportation. We'll do it. There was no plan for this. Absolutely none. Kids have no idea where their parents were taken. None.
I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyne.
Mary had a little man.
The fourth, we believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
For Christina Persolta, who's the godmother of two children whose mom was arrested, she's felt helpless watching all day as the boys wonder when they'll see their mother again.
He said that his mom is gone, that he's upset with Trump. He said
little kids.
He just wants his mom back. And they're both crying. They've been crying about all day since they got home from school.
But with the help of Clear Creek Boot Camp owner Jordan Barnes and other community leaders, the kids will have a roof to sleep under at his gym for the night with donated food to eat.
We're going to have bedding available for them, and we're going to get food for them just to get them through the night. And if they need transport to school in the morning, we can arrange that as well.
And in times like these, those in Forest, Mississippi stress you cannot forget the children going through all this.
I understand the law and how everything works, and everything has a system, but everybody needs to hold the kids first and foremost in their mind. And that's what we've tried to do here, is just give them a place to stay, just to kind of ease the pain just a little bit.
How do you ease the pain of stealing mom and dad away from a kid on the first day of school? When you drop a kid off on the first day of school, you always say to the kid, right, I'll be right here when you get out. I'll be right here. I'll pick you up right here at 3 o'clock. I'll be right here when you get out. This is complete and utter trauma. This is chaotic, and it didn't need to be this, okay? It really doesn't need to be roundups of people who have been here 10 and 15 years. They say, oh, get in line. Well, if you've been here 20 years, and you're working, guess what you're doing? You're paying Social Security taxes. It's coming out of your freaking check, right? So you're paying FICA, you're paying Medicaid, you're paying Social Security and all that stuff, but you never, ever will have a chance to be the beneficiary of that. Isn't that something? Billions of dollars are collected that way. But on top of that, not only are these people paying taxes, not only are these people doing work, hard work, disgusting work, work that nobody else will do. In all of these 680 people, one person was a U.S. citizen. One. We don't prosecute the people who actually go out and hire the people to do this work. We don't do that. Oh, no, because then we would have to prosecute Donald Trump and his friends, right? So we only go and round up parents on the first day of school. A week in, not even a week after a mass shooting. It's not even the weekend after. It's not even the week after. It's the week of. This is a message. This is what he's telling his people. This is what he's showing them. This is how he's saying, don't leave me. Don't leave me. I got you back, white supremacists. I understand what you want. They are invaders and they're criminals. And these are criminals? Really? You know, all these Aryan Nation dudes, every time I read an article about how they were arrested, it's always because they're selling freaking meth and stockpiling weapons. Arkansas, 54 people were arrested in February from the Aryan Nation, selling meth, tons of it, with stockpiles of weapons. And guess what? They arrested, a couple of these people out of 54. One of them actually escaped the jail this week, and they had to go find him. But these are the people we should fear. These are the people that are going to come. And he stood at this rally, and in El Paso, no less, and just lied.
And there's no place better to talk about border security, whether they like it or not, because I've been hearing a lot of things. Oh, the wall didn't make that much of a difference.
No.
You know where it made a big difference? Right here in El Paso. And I've been watching where they've been trying to say, oh, the wall didn't make that much. Well, you take a look at what they did with their past crimes and how they made them from very serious to much less serious. You take a look at what the real system is. I spoke to people that have been here a long time. They said when that wall went up, it's a whole different ball game. Is that a correct statement? Whole different ball game. I'll give you another example, and I don't care whether a mayor is a Republican or a Democrat.
I thought you
They're
do.
full of crap when they say it hasn't made a big difference. I heard the same thing from the fake news. They said, oh, crime actually stayed the same.
Yeah.
Didn't stay the same.
Yeah.
Went way down.
No.
And look at what they did to their past crimes, and look at how they recorded those past crimes.
What is he talking
way,
about?
Way down. These people, you think they'd want to get to the bottom of a problem and solve a problem, not try and pull the wool over everybody's eyes.
You mean like guns?
For those few people that are out there on television saying, oh, it didn't make too much of a difference, it made a tremendous... People from El Paso, am I right? It's fake news. It's fake. I'm telling you, it's just fake news.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's fake news, everybody. It's fake news. Here is the mayor of El Paso.
At his rally last night, the president said the wall in El Paso, where he was having the rally, turned a violent city safe. County officials passed a resolution condemning the President of the United States for that inaccurate assertion. You see, in 2006, when Congress authorized the El Paso section of steel fence, violent crime levels were at historic lows. They remain at low levels, as the Republican El Paso mayor explained yesterday.
But I don't care whether a mayor is a Republican or a Democrat. They're full of crap when they say it hasn't made a big difference.
To that assertion, the Conference of Mayors issued a statement saying, in part, this is simply untrue.
But remember, everybody,
I'm the least racist person there is in the world.
Which a caller yesterday pointed out means he is a racist. He's just the least racist of the people you know. And if you're in the white Aryan Nation, that might be true. I don't know. Or whatever Stormfront thing that you post on. This is just so sick. And then he went to the Rose Garden 4 days later even though mayors across the United States, the mayor, Margo of El Paso and others, all showed him the crime stats and showed that El Paso is one of the most peaceful cities. They're very proud of that. They're very, very, very proud of the way El Paso operates, of the melting pot that El Paso is, of the sharing of culture in El Paso. Okay, they're very proud of it. It's what makes El Paso El Paso, sort of like Broadway makes New York, New York. And me, I make New York, New York. But he repeated it.
You look, and when you listen to politicians, in particular certain Democrats, they say it all comes through the port of entry. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's just a lie. It's all a lie. They say walls don't work. Walls work 100%. Whether it's El Paso, I really was smiling because the other night I was in El Paso. We had a tremendous crowd. And I asked the people, many of whom were from El Paso, but they came from all over Texas.
Oh, they weren't El Pasoans. Oh, maybe they were from Allen, Texas. Oh.
And I asked them, I said, let me ask you, as a crowd, when the wall went up, was it better? You were there, some of you. It was not only better, it was like 100% better. You know what they did. But that's only one example. There are so many examples. In El Paso, they have close to 2,000 murders right on the other side of the wall. And they had 23 murders. It's a lot of murders.
He's a sick freak. I'm telling you, he is a walking pillar of salt. And he must rub himself into your wounds. 90% of America wants background checks. We can't get it from this president. NRA called him, told him, you better not do this. You better not do this. We're not into it. No assault weapons ban. Forget that. That is not going to happen. And what does he do? Just to send a signal, don't you worry. He authorizes one of the largest invasions into 7 ag businesses all across. Mississippi has a time. There's 20,000 people in Mississippi who are undocumented. 20,000. He rounded up 680 just to send a message.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. It's nice to have you with us. We're being watched, as you know.
Who's watching us?
Well, a number of people. Some of them are not too happy, which is too bad.
That was yesterday. Remember we were telling you in real time yesterday that we were talking about Shepard Smith telling the truth on Fox News and how freeing it must be for him. And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump tweeted about Shepard Smith just as we were telling you that. And apparently Shepard Smith also saw it on his phone. And so he said, good afternoon, Mr. President. And he told his guests, some people are watching us. They go, who's watching us? What do you mean? You're on TV. So he says, who's watching us? And then he looked at the phone and he said, good afternoon, Mr. President. Too bad. Too bad for you. All right. Decker in Naples.
Hi, Randi.
Hi, Decker.
I've been hoping to talk to you for quite a while now.
Well, here's your chance.
All the way back to October 2017, when I was in Washington, D.C. At a Transformers convention. And the day after we had a whole bunch of fun, we woke up to find on Twitter that there had been a mass shooting in the Las Vegas shooting.
No, that was mind-blowing. And we've never gotten an explanation, so it must be really bad.
Oh, yeah. Well, that morning we were all, coming off of a great high of oxytocin from hugging other people and, minding our own business and, propagating violence only in the fictional context. But it was really, really hurtful. It was such a sharp come down, like being on a roller coaster. And so today what I have is basically just trying to specifically talk about, gun legislation in our country and why other countries do have guns, but not so many mass shootings.
Right.
Obviously, we're going to separate for the clarity. Murder and mass shootings are not the same thing, even if they're both committed with guns.
Well, they're both bad. I wouldn't put those, separate in my head. Okay, I really wouldn't.
Well,
as an ordinary person, I wouldn't.
Oh,
what I would
absolutely.
do, though, what I would say is that places that ban assault weapons don't have mass shootings. Places that have, background checks, and here in the United States, it better include your social media. People have got to, before they're given first of all, they should be licensed. Okay, it should not be easy to get a gun. If you're only using it for home protection, my God, get a smart gun. That way your child can't shoot anybody by accident. Wouldn't that be something fun and good? But make sure you check these people's social media and see if they're posting on Reddit or Stormfront or 8chan or 4chan or what are they saying? Rena, are they part of a Facebook page that hates migrants or hates immigrants or hates black people? I mean, can't we just say that if the Russians can target people that way, why can't the NICS system do it?
Oh, but it is a very good question. And obviously there are other countries with guns, and they don't have these kinds of problems.
No, they don't. And the whole world plays video games. And the whole world has citizens that experience mental illness. And we all know that mental illness is not a reason that people commit crime. They're more likely to be victims of crime than they are to commit crime. And I know that ordinary Americans go, how could you say that? I mean, to shoot up people like they did in the El Paso Walmart. That is not mental illness. That is taught hatred. That is something that is taught to you.
That is an illness of society and of thought, not of the mind itself. Yes, exactly.
It is.
And it's not like also other countries don't have mentally ill people. It's just anyway.
That's what I'm
so
saying.
Those are all distractions.
The world has an equal share, as the United States does, of people who suffer from various mental disorders. Bipolar disorder 1, bipolar disorder 2, schizophrenia, all that. It is ubiquitous across the globe. And yet you don't see this happening in Japan. You don't see this happening in Russia. You don't see this happening in China. They got 1 billion people there. 1 billion people. They all play video games. 10 million people signed up for a new release of a first-person shooting game last year, okay, in China. They don't have this. So to sit there and blame everything but what it really is, and that is the assault weapon, the high-capacity magazine, the lax gun laws, the lack of technology to make it a smart gun, the lack of background checks, the lack of even interviewing somebody who wants to get their hands on something like that. That is your problem.
Yes. And just for trying to contextualize this for the average person, because you can say, not that many people are killed in mass shootings every year, which is technically per capita correct, but it's not a very good way to look at it. It's like, well,
the president is saying that El Paso is a dangerous, dangerous city.
Right.
He said, I mean, his numbers are wrong, but he said they had 23 murders last year. You know what? Dayton and El Paso beat the entire city of El Paso's crime stats in just, a weekend?
Yeah.
But he doesn't consider that serious enough to do anything about. But he does want us to come out of pocket billions of dollars and build him a stupid wall. This makes no sense what he's saying because it's nonsense. Gary in Mississippi.
Wow. You pretty much said everything I wanted to say.
I will
to you.
say it again. Repetition is, the art of the deal.
Okay, well, I started off talking about the raids last night being a real shock to the community because these people were community. They were neighbors.
Yeah.
And more importantly, to put a crimp to what, to put the lie to what Trump is saying, no big deal. They were workers, so they were contributing to society
in a skin in the game way. I mean, money. They actually
absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Can you imagine? I don't know, Gary. Where are you in Mississippi?
Jackson.
Well, I got run out of Tishomingo County up north. Well, the Ku Klux Klan came.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they ran me out because, they first they said, I should come to a diner and meet them. And I had no idea what I was doing. I was maybe 17 years old, 18 years old. And so I went to the diner, and I was sitting down with these guys who, demanded that I come and talk to them. I was writing a column in a local newspaper that was called Don't Read This. And my column was about PE. It was about that there was no gym in school. It wasn't a class. They didn't have it. And in New York, everybody had gym. It was mandatory, and I didn't understand it. So I wrote a column about it. KKK comes, meet us at a diner. Met him at a diner. We're sitting there. This guy says to me, "I heard you're one of these Jewish gals."
My God.
I said, "What?" "I heard you're one of these Jewish." What is a Jewish gal? Oh, a Jewish gal. Oh. I said, "Yeah, I'm a Jew. Why?" "Well, we all heard you have horns." So I have this little natural bump on my head, and I said, yeah, we have horns. We just keep them in during the day. Ha ha, isn't that funny? And that night they came to my house, told me to get everything out of my little house and put it in the car, and they drove me from Tishomingo County, which is right on the border of Red Bay, Alabama, and they drove me over the border into Alabama, and then the KKK from Alabama came and met me and made sure I went straight through from, all across Alabama. So I know what it is.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
They have a word. It sort of became old-fashioned. It's called a nationalist. And I say, really, we're not supposed to use that word. You know what I am? I'm a nationalist, okay? I'm a nationalist. Nationalist. Nothing else. Use that word. Use that word.
The least racist person there is in the world.
I'm a nationalist, a white one. Actually, I'm orange. Oh my God! He's creating a race war is what he's doing. I mean, we've always had, like I said, you know how old that story is that I told about Tishomingo County, Mississippi, and the Klan. That story is so old; it's older than the crack in Grandma's butt. And happy 89th birthday, Ma.
Roy
says happy birthday. My mom's 89, and she's driving. Just fair warning, everybody. But you know how old that story is? That story is so old. And it still goes on in this country. The thing is that you used to have to hide. You used to have some shame about asking a girl if she was Jewish and then freaking out when she lets you feel the little natural bump on her head because you think it's horns. This president encourages them to grow in numbers, to lose the shame about it, to turn off all the lights in this country that we spent years and years turning on, to shine a light on those people and make them ashamed of themselves, to shun them, to shame them. That is a good tactic. And he turned off all the lights that we used to disinfect ourselves of that kind of hatred. And now all the cockroaches have come crawling out of the woodwork because he's standing on stages saying they're murderers. They're 20. He's saying that in El Paso there were 23 murders. That's a lot of murders. That's why we have to build a wall. There were almost 23 murders in that Walmart by a Trump supporter who was not from El Paso, who was from Allen, Texas, right outside of Dallas, and drove 10 hours in his car knowing what he was going to do, thinking about it, marinating in that hatred, loving what he was about to do. And the president stands on a stage and says, those 23, we don't need to do anything about. But the 23 that, I read about somewhere in some false, report about El Paso being really super dangerous, which is exactly the opposite of what El Paso is. Oh, that we have to build a wall and shield ourselves. Makes no sense, does it? No, because it isn't real, these beefs he has. It's just to rally Al-Qaeda. It's just to rally these cockroaches. It's just to rally the base. He stands on stages and declares himself a nationalist. He can't say white because he's orange, but and sometimes he's, sort of rust-colored. I don't even know what color he is. I just don't know. But he's a racist. He's been a racist his whole life. If you start out in business and the first thing that happens to you in law enforcement is that you are sued and that the government actually has a case and makes a case and you end up paying money, real millions, to the government for discrimination against African Americans, you probably are a racist. But what's really important is the racists think he's racist. And I've heard that being repeated. Good. Keep repeating it. Just go ahead. Take it. Jennifer in California.
Hi, Randy.
Hey.
First, I want to say congratulations to being on Free Speech. We so need your voice to have a wider reach, and I am just so happy for you.
Yeah,
you deserve
thanks.
it.
Thank you.
So last night, Rachel Maddow, her show was focusing on past lawsuits in the 80s and 90s against white supremacy groups that successfully, systematically bankrupt them. That was their strategy to take down these groups. So I was thinking, why not the victims of these current shootings file a lawsuit against Mitch McConnell, who has personally bragged that he's the Grim Reaper for killing the House gun bills that come to the Senate. And then on top of that, let's take Trump down with that too, since his manifesto, the manifestos of these shooters are the manifestos of the rallies that we're getting. They are personally responsible for inciting this violence.
Yeah. Well, Mitch McConnell can be impeached. I don't know that he could be sued for not taking a vote. I don't know how you would make that case. But, he can be impeached as well and removed. The Senate would have to actually have a trial to remove their leader. That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be good.
Wouldn't that be fun? Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be wonderful.
It would. But
I mean, even with those tombstones that he was putting up, I mean, he's bragging on that.
Did you see that? I had to tweet that. I had to retweet that. That is the sickest thing. Mitch McConnell, for those of you who don't know, you should follow me on Twitter, @Randi Rhodes, because I tweet stuff you really need to see. So that's why I play so many videos. You need to hear it for yourself. You need to know that I'm not making crap up. You need to trust, that I'm actually able to back up everything. That's why I put out the homework every day so you can see what I relied on to create the show. And that's why I play so many videos. But the Twitter feed's good too, because Mitch McConnell literally, I think it was Monday, tweeted out tombstones with Amy McGrath, who has done absolutely nothing except decide to run as a Democrat for his Senate seat. He put her name on tombstones. Now, this is a veteran. This is a combat veteran. She is a fighter pilot. She is somebody that served this nation in uniform well, and he put her name on tombstones and tweeted it out. Then he's also
Isn't that like putting her name, doing crosshairs, putting her in crosshairs?
Yes, but nothing
for
happened.
the base?
But nothing happened to Sarah Palin over that.
No, but he, in fact, it was, the tombstone is no different than putting crosshairs.
Right, but you're saying make a
McGrath.
lawsuit out of it, and I'm trying to show you that, there's no lawsuit there. There's nothing, but you could impeach him. You could for failure to, do his duty and protect and defend the American people from all enemies, foreign and domestic. I mean, you could.
Yeah.
Unfit for office. You could 25th Amendment the president. No, really, when I saw him in the hospital yesterday, I was like, don't you have a psych ward? Can't you just take him now? Can't you just commit? It was such a no-brainer for me. Hospital, commit him. He was there.
Sure. Here's a padded room.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Dan in California.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
Hey, so there's so much I'm thinking about, but there's this one point that I want to make. My best friend since 1981, he's black, and we talk to each other. He lives in New York. We talk to each other like twice a week, and I just hear him getting more and more angry. And the thing that he says is, it's up to white people. Use your white power, your white privilege, your white majority.
He's right.
We crossed the line so long ago, man. It's time.
And here's something. Here's something I need everybody to understand. There is no, you know how people hold up signs and say, I am not a racist? There is no such thing as not a racist. You're either...
There's only an anti...
Exactly. Right. And so we do have white privilege. We do have the majority. 250 million people in this country are white. And if we would organize and say that this has all got to end, nobody wants to live like this. We have unequal, we have a justice system that's not equal. We have an economic system that's not equal, an education system that's not equal. And we want to fix it. We could fix it. We could do it.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
2 mass shootings in this country about 13 hours apart. First on Saturday, a massacre in El Paso, Texas. A 21-year-old gunman, terrorist, opened fire at a Walmart, killing at least 20 people and injuring at least 26. That suspect is in custody, and the FBI has opened a domestic terrorism investigation, according to a source familiar with the investigation. Authorities are investigating a document posted online and believed to have been written by the suspected terrorist. The document is filled with white nationalist language and racist hatred towards immigrants and specifically towards Latinos. And then, as if that weren't horrifying enough, shortly after 1 a.m. on Sunday morning, a gunman opened fire outdoors in a Dayton, Ohio business and entertainment district, killing at least 9 innocent people and injuring 26. That gunman wore body armor and fired what's called a long gun and was killed by police less than a minute after the shooting started, authorities say. Moments ago, President Trump tweeted out prayers for the people of El Paso and the people of Dayton. Yesterday, he called the El Paso shooting, quote, an act of cowardice. This morning, lawmakers and presidential candidates already are beginning to call for change. We're going to talk with at least 4 presidential candidates today about what they would do to stop this epidemic of mass shootings and shootings. We should note that we invited the Republican governor, lieutenant governor, and both Republican U.S. senators representing Texas to join us this morning. They all declined. The Republican governor of Ohio also declined. We also asked the White House to provide someone to discuss these shootings. That request, too, was declined.
That's dereliction of duty, man. And that's why I played that clip. Obviously, that happened over the weekend, that clip, right? That was CNN's first reporting on Sunday about the initial reports. No Republican would show up and talk about mass shootings. No Republican would talk about white supremacy or white nationalism. No Republican would talk about what the cures going forward might be. No Republican would give any interview to anybody in any media. That is just so sick. And then Donald Trump finally, pops up his ugly little pimple head in El Paso yesterday and brags to the handful of people that consented to talk to him in a room away from the patients who did not consent to talk to him. They didn't want him there. He says, hey, did you see my rally? Look at the crowd size, man. And crazy Beto. And Beto is out by the crime scene consoling the survivors who threw themselves on top of children to keep them alive. These Republicans are cowards. They are absolutely... They're all about the money. They're all about the lobbyists. This is an amazing swamp. Trump, you remember Drain the Swamp? He is the swamp monster. He is absolutely the swampiest creature that's ever held office. And that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. $30 million from the NRA, and we're not even sure if that money was American. We think that perhaps Alexander Torshin and Maria Butina, Russian nationals, funneled money through the NRA. And Wayne LaPierre, right, this pillar of moral, gun rights are human rights. Oh, God. This marketer, okay, actually made the NRA or asked the NRA to buy him a $6 million mansion out of their funds, out of their not-for-profit funds, because he wanted to live in a $6 million mansion in Texas. What? I mean, this is the most corrupt organization in the history of the United States of America. And that's saying a lot, too, because you got lots and lots and lots of corruption in Washington. I mean, people lobby all day long, every day on the tax code, all day long on carried interest and loopholes and subsidies and grant money and all the government money, Now, we're not at the table to ask for grant money or for subsidies to build our little businesses or whatever. So we're on the menu. That's just the nature of it. We need somebody who isn't bought and paid for. We need somebody that gets it. We need somebody that understands it. We need somebody to protect us, somebody that understands our ability to consume is affected. And in an economy where 70% of everything we do, our GDP, 70% of everything we do in America is consumer driven. We need to be able to, and this man keeps putting taxes on stuff and tariffs on stuff and claiming some other country is paying he's out of his ever-loving mind. He's making stuff up. And there are people that will watch people die. There are people that will watch children die. There are people that will watch, little kids who are American citizens watch their parents be hauled away after their parents were taken out of, their workplace. One of the hardest jobs known to man, working in a slaughterhouse. Oh, my God. And the kids are don't worry, honey, today's your first day at school. Be right here when you get out. We'll pick you up. And the parents are hauled away to another state. The kids don't know where they are. And they sit on the TV and claim victory. What did they win? This is the crazy part. I always say this. This is why you don't want to be on the wrong side of me. Because if you win your argument against me, what have you won? What have you actually won? Have you made anything better? Did you come with a solution? Did you solve any of our problems? Did you fix income inequality? Did you fix a school system that's based on property taxes so that the very wealthy get the best schools and the very poor get nothing? And that a child's zip code is going to determine their entire future from the moment that they set foot in first grade? Really? This is good? This is right? This is fair? This makes us stronger, better, smarter, able to compete? So stupid. Kirk in Washington.
Hi, Randy. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I think it's very important that you talked about not demonizing the mentally disabled. It's like Trump does not get what the whole ADA is about.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't understand. And for them, it's so easy to just say, oh, that person was mentally ill. No, that person was ate up with taught hate, steeped in a world of it. And that is not mental illness. I'm sorry to tell you, but love is not a mental illness and hate is not a mental illness.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I appreciate you taking my call, and that's all I wanted to say for today. But, hopefully we can vote him out or impeach him or do whatever that needs to be done. We need someone with far less inflammatory rhetoric in the White House.
You're welcome. And it's not just his rhetoric, it's his intentions. His intentions for this country are bad. His intention is to have a race war. His intention is to turn one American upon another because a house divided cannot stand. And once that's done, he can steal. I always said this, in chaos, you can steal. If Americans are fighting against ordinary Americans who have more in common than you might ever guess, while the rich are stealing every bit of your tax dollars that you pay in, while they dismantle things like Medicaid, which provides, by the way, mental health care, and then they point and they say, oh, you're mentally ill, but we're not going to give you any mental health care because we want to destroy the ACA, or we want to destroy Medicaid, or we want to destroy Medicare, or we want to destroy Social Security disability payments. I mean, honestly. And just remember, what did Trump do on guns? First thing he did. Obama had a system by which if somebody was so mentally disabled that they could not manage their own affairs, that they had actually had to have somebody appointed to take their check, manage their Social Security disability check for them, right? Then that person should be screened out of the possibility of having a gun. Sort of a red flag law. Trump reversed it. It was one of the first things he did to show his love for the NRA after they gave him $30 million. Tony in Oregon.
Oh, Randy, I've loved you forever, and God bless the work that you do. Listen, there's a company called Palantir. Palantir, your screen reader, look at Palantir.
Yeah, Peter Thiel.
Peter Thiel is one of the investors, favorite. He gave over $1 million to Scrotus, our so-called president. They are the reason that these immigrants or whatever, these undocumented were targeted. He can, our government organizations use this company. All they have to do is put in a name, put in a, let's say, a license number on a car, and they know where we are at any real time.
Oh, I know.
It is a frightening company. It's got to be looked into.
Well,
and,
I mean, there's a guy, I don't even know if he's still around. His name's Kevin Harrington. Look him up. He is the link between Palantir and the Trump White House. Now, I don't think it's as nefarious as you think it is. I think that they need business, and they'll track the immigrants is what they're looking to do.